Oh, man. Good morning, Grace Hopper celebration. You know, it's funny, I like to tell people that if you want to imagine what I'm striving for each day, is to be the perfect love child of Beyonce and Bill Nye the Science Guy. And here in Houston, I've never felt more like Beyonce in my entire life. I'm so honored and humbled to be here. I'm in a room with my sisters. And let's face it, oftentimes we're not in a room with people who just get us, get why we're doing things, how we're doing things. And I think it's really important in these rooms to be honest and to strive for demystification. Because oftentimes people will come up here and they'll say things and it'll look like they just came out of the womb and just started to write out their plan for their life. And everything went perfectly. You know what I mean? And I'm standing here, honestly, here to tell you that even though I am so honored to be at the helm of a technology company, at the helm of a groundbreaking, and yes, I did say groundbreaking. We need to get used to saying groundbreaking. We need to get used to saying that about ourselves. Of energy technology and data infrastructure company, I'm here to tell you that I honestly have no idea how I got here. I'm not gonna, then I figured this out. No, that's not how it went down. It's not just that, I'm so proud and humbled to have been able to run such a company. Even if you just look at the numbers, there are a lot of things that don't necessarily fit with the status quo. I'm a woman, I'm black, I'm first generation Nigerian American, which may seem like a kind of an opportunity there, given that Nigerian parents are the most intense in the world, like tiger moms, but louder. I grew up in Poughkeepsie, New York. I attended a high school that didn't even offer. Oh, what? No. Okay. Well, let's keep it real, though. Listen, I love Poughkeepsie, but I went to a high school that didn't even have science fairs or AP physics, to say the least of robotics and coding. I ended up taking AP Psych and falling in love with that, majoring in that, while still just tinkering and blowing things up in my mom's house, in my dorm room. I don't have a lot of friends. Even my company doesn't necessarily match the status quo. I'm not based out in the West Coast. I'm not based in Silicon Valley. I'm based in New York City. Okay. I'm based in Harlem. Okay. Across the street from the Grant Projects. That's my lab and my HQ, where our biggest issue is figuring out how we can get FRP shipments and also get our fried chicken. I'm not gonna lie, we love the fried chicken. We've all filled out a little bit. My staff of a high-tech company, 57% of my staff are women. 43% Black and Hispanic. Again, if you look at the numbers, if you look at what everyone tells us about what should be normal, what should be expected, the things that make it so hard to build, but somehow we did that and we're here. And I can tell you, even when I think about myself and how I thought about things a decade ago, I for damn sure didn't plan to be here. And so the best I can do is kind of walk you through the technological developments that got me here. And maybe we can figure this out together, because it doesn't help if I keep it to myself. And let's face it, I'm basically looking at a crowd of the most brilliant people on planet. So why not share? So for me, my career started when I was 19 years old. As has been said, I'm a dual citizen of Nigeria and the US. And in that way, I've been very lucky because I've gotten a chance to go to Nigeria several times a year, all through my lifetime, and see that there was a massive infrastructural problem. For those of you who know, and for those of you who are watching all around the world, I'm sure you know that there's still 1 billion people on this planet that don't have access to electricity. Included in that number is my own family. In Nigeria, whether they're living in the village, whether they're living in the city, you can expect to lose power several times a day. It's a problem that masquerades as socioeconomic, but it's actually infrastructural. The systems around them simply aren't giving them what they need. Now, for me, this was just a massive annoyance. I would go to Nigeria for weddings, for different events, for vacations, and then I'd be sitting there in the darkness. And the juxtaposition of going back and forth was insane. And so, I was 19, I'm taking a college class, and I'm asked to come up with something that combines art and science. And I wasn't sure if I was an artist, I wasn't sure if I was a scientist at that time, but I knew that I could pull from my own experiences and observations. And so that's what I did. I thought back to the times I would spend in Nigeria, and I thought back to the only times when I saw my own family kind of feel like they had agency to address the problem of lack of reliable access to electricity. And that's when they were playing soccer, believe it or not. My own cousins, often believed that the best way to deal with not having the infrastructure we needed, using diesel generators that were horrible for the environment, horrible for the people living in the room. In fact, living with the kerosene lamp is like smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. So you can only imagine if to keep basic events moving forward, you had to use a diesel generator. But the only time that they felt that they could change the world that they were living in, that they actually had that agency, was when they were playing. And so I wanted to create something that gave them that win-win, that really bridged the gap between what was working and not working. I wanted to create, if anything, almost a psychological innovation. I never thought that I could ever go into infrastructure. Infrastructure seemed too scary, too big. And so I said, well, let's take a soccer ball and harness that kinetic energy so that it can be used as a short-term replacement with a kerosene lamp and a long-term kind of first step to showing people that just by living, you can be part of the solution. It was for a class project. My prototyping store was whatever I could reverse engineer from Target and Duane Reade. That's our Walgreens and whatnot. And I did well in that class project. Again, Nigerian mom, had to. But I didn't know it was going to be anything else. People started to see it, realize what was going on. I got to be honest with you, again, I wasn't trying to start a business. I think if I was, I would have been too afraid. When people started to notice it, they said, hey, you have to become a business for people to be able to do business with you. I said, touche. That's fair. Built a business. Came out, I was 22, 23 years old. Started just to distribute the product, figure out what was going on. Then found that, okay, beyond that, the market is saying that we might need more. We're working in refugee camps. We're finding out that while soccer is the most popular sport around the world, and it's great, an hour of play gives you 3 hours of light, in a lot of communities, girls are either not allowed to play, they can't keep up with the boys the way they want to play, or they're literally told that they cannot play. Specifically in the refugee camps that we were working in on the border of Syria and Jordan. Once the girls hit the age of 12, they weren't allowed to play outside. Now, I made a huge case as to why they should just keep the boys inside. No one listened. And so then I said, okay, I'll create something else. I'll make a jump rope. I'll take that same technology and I'll put it inside of a jump rope, something you can use inside. I brought this along. Why not, for fun? 15 minutes of jumping can give you an hour of light. And the idea, again, was not only to give the girls actually even better ratio, but to design something that I felt was necessary for the communities that I was serving, not to build anything else. I'll show you. And yes, I can jump rope in heels. I've been doing this for a very long time. And then you get light. It's really simple. Simple in my mind, anyway. So we built that. I went to business school. People started to get inspired. I was even getting inspired. I was like, wow, this seems to be working. This is exciting. The prospects of embedded technology. If you can turn everything around you into a source of power, what would be possible? So I said, okay, let's develop more. Let's build more. And so I started to work then to actually raise funds. There's a whole other talk. It's a whole other talk about how hard it is to raise funds as a woman and as a person of color and the intersection of the two. But I started to actually say, what more could this be? How do we solve these problems? And then it started to go step by step. I realized that while generation was exciting, renewable generation was exciting, kinetic generation was exciting, the energy system was broken. And that if you're going to look at energy technology, you can't just look at generation. You can't just look at storage. You can't just look at transmission, siloed. You have to look at all three. Everyone else in the solar space, in the wind space, they were trying to force square pegs into circle holes. And I said, well, that doesn't make sense. I'm designing technology for my own family. There's a blank slate. How should it be? So we built out the More platform. More is our platform for basically turning everything around us not only into a source of renewable energy generation, but transmission and storage as well. And so we built a team. Started to develop technologies to put the technology in the ground, into the ground that we walk on, into the ground that we drive on. We realized there were issues with the storage system, so we just went ahead and started developing IP in that as well. Stochastic amalgamation, the ability to take micro packets of energy and harness them efficiently in one storage device. No one had ever done it before. I felt like it needed to be done. We increased the efficiency by 50% of current status quo systems. Mesh network transmission. I said, well, if we're going to have everything around us generating energy, we can't just do transmission the way people do transmission. We have to do it in a smart way. Developed IP around the transfer of data and energy in real time so you can be smart about where you send it, how much you're sending, and when you're sending it. Again, I have no idea why this didn't exist before. I don't even know how all of this is even functioning when I looked into it, gotta be honest. But then we got the patent. And we realized because we were so persistent, because we were over in Harlem, because we were just trying to make this world make sense for us, for a socket ball, we were actually addressing the problems of the overall renewable energy industry. When you think about building decentralized energy systems, when you think about the transmission of those systems, when you think about what's holding back solar and wind, and honestly, the entire world from having the access that they deserve and that's possible if we just change the way we build infrastructure. And so we started to build to the point where I realized, I didn't mean to be here, but I'm here. We now have technology that allows us to rethink infrastructure. And while infrastructure seems scary, and I started with the soccer ball, and I started just first putting things in soccer balls and jump ropes, and then, couches, and I built like a little Black Panther suit as well. It was fun. We do all those different things. I'm the real life Shuri. I'm waiting on my royalties, don't worry. That I had to step into this space that I saw no one like me in, because oftentimes just being that fresh face is what allows you to be groundbreaking. And so what we've been working on now, we're getting ready to push out, we're actually working with Fortune 100 companies to build their microgrids with our More infrastructure system. It is the fanciest box you'll ever see, or maybe you'll never see it. It blends in with the pavement, the sidewalk, but what it does is it allows us to install these things 70% cheaper, 80% faster, and with at least a 50% reduction in the payback period. That means that we can build the infrastructure in places that don't have it easier. We can get the financing for it easier without sacrificing durability. In fact, bringing more. Each of these panels, because they have to not only generate energy, transmit energy, store energy, but they have to do it in a smart way. When we lay these things out, we're laying down the infrastructure for decentralized data centers to be all around us. We're laying out the infrastructure for fiber optic and gigabit Ethernet. We're building the cities of tomorrow in Harlem. And that is super exciting. And that's why I'm standing here, because I'm persistent and I realize each step of the way that these things actually weren't being solved. People were just dealing. People were just settling. These were the rooms that they weren't letting us in. And so what does this all mean? Just because it's not your plan doesn't mean it's not your destiny. I really, really want you guys to understand this. This was not my plan. And when I looked at the numbers, when I think about this, I'm like, how did I get here? But the reality is, maybe this was actually part of my destiny. If I didn't come to this space with my kind of feminine perspective, almost all of our technology is designed to be collaborative. Almost all of our technology, kind of versus the status quo, is designed to think about how do we allow for sustainable communication. For any of you who have boyfriends or male partners who know what I mean, communication can sometimes be tough for the guys. I'm just gonna figure out a way to do it over here, and it'll be fine by itself. There's one big centralized energy system that doesn't speak to anything. Right, okay, well that's not how I would do it. What I would do is make sure we can all talk to each other, and we're communicating, and it's more sustainable, and it's more efficient. Yay, how easy is that? Half of our patents are like that. If I wasn't a black woman, I don't even know if I would have gotten this far, because I don't think I would have been so underestimated. Being underestimated was the best thing that happened to me. No one's been bothering me in Harlem, and I'm coming for you, Elon, I'm coming. And you didn't know. If I wasn't Nigerian, I would not have seen the opportunities of the world. If I did not have a diverse team, we would not be able to design for the world. Harlem is a microcosm of that world. It is easy to design for the things that you see. If I didn't study psychology, as weird as that was, I would not have been able to see the value of the win-win, whether it's in playing and getting the power you need, or combining microgrid infrastructure technology with data center infrastructure technology so that it could be affordable to develop. And so what I want to leave you with, apart from the fact of just knowing that your destiny is unshakable regardless of what your plans are, is that the future is a world where we aren't afraid to think in our authentic truth. No code switching here. To work in our authentic truth and to live in our authentic truth. If I had tried to be anything but who I am, if I had tried to plan for what I have seen versus who I am, I would not be here today. You need to have confidence in yourself. You know the answer. It is in you and is in all of us. The world will be better by virtue of the fact that more of us will be leading it. However, we must speak it into existence. We must be the ones that no one will say it for us. We must be the ones to speak it into existence. Thank you.